Welcome to MVP News, where we get real about football. And now to your hosts, Mike Pagano and Paul Helmers.
What's going on, guys? Week 2 Sunday is in the bag. This is Mike Pagano and Paul Helmers with MVP News, and we're here live Sunday night after the last game for the weekly wrap-up. What's going on, Paul?
Just sitting here with plenty of good thoughts for these games today.
Oh, man, I'm going to tell you this right now. If the NFL didn't slap you in the face yet this season, today it did. Now, right. I don't know what happened today. I'm talking, my picks have just been, I'm already like 0-15 today. Like, I feel like it's not that serious, but wow, talk about parity in the NFL. And this is why we love the NFL. But I know everybody's sitting at home with at least one thing that they're looking at like, did that happen? Before we get into the weekly wrap up, let me just ask you, and I didn't even warn you I was going to ask you this. I want something raw. I want something real from you. Give me like your top 2 things today that just blew your mind.
All right. Number one, I feel like you probably expect from me. We're looking at the Cleveland Browns once again find a way to not win a game. Kicker misses 2 field goals and 2 extra points in a dome. Like, there's not even weather to worry about. He's in a dome and he still misses these. And that leads to their eventual demise, and they lose the game after leading for pretty much the entire game. I would say that, and my other takeaway would be Tennessee surprising us. Blaine Gabbert coming away with a W.
All right. Hey, now I agree. Those 2 things are definitely interesting things. If I had to say my 2 things, I would say one, even though I picked it, the way the Jaguars handled the Patriots is what blew me away. I said I think they would do it. That was one of my picks, that they had that emotion. I in no way envisioned it to be like that. Even though Brady had the chance in the end and they blew it, they couldn't do it. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. That beginning, oh man, this game I actually sat down and watched. It wasn't one of the games I was flipping through. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but that really was something that caught me off guard and blew my mind. And then the second thing, hey, everybody's probably going to talk about it. It's not going to be new, but a tie, a second week in a row with a tie. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. And we'll get into that. So let's go ahead and start with the most recent game. It's Sunday Night Football. I know that you're excited about this one because you watched this. You had, you called it. You said that the Cowboys would win. This one I was wrong about. But let me hear what you got going on with this, and then I'll add my 2 cents here in a little bit.
Okay, first and foremost, I know there's been a lot of Dak haters coming out lately. A lot of people were high on him for his first 2 years. This year, no one's really so high on him, and I wasn't with them, but I think I might start to join them after that. He had 160 yards passing, and 64 of those came on one play. So. Yeah, he pushed the ball up the field on that one play, but that was about it. That's the only magic I really saw out of him. Zeke had an okay game. Honestly, it's a pretty even game, other than the fact that the Giants can't find a way to score until the very end of the game. So I know the score was closer. It wasn't that close. The Giants offense just. We come in this year and they draft this running back, and everyone's talking about how great they're going to be. And Pat Shurmur's their coordinator or their head coach, and look at the magic he brought.
Barkley had 28 yards.
Okay, well, so that's rushing yards, but if you look at his receiving yards, what I was going to bring up isn't so much. It's more the predictability that they're bringing. Barkley had 11 carries, also had 14 receptions, and I'm pretty sure his targets was around 16 or so. So, they're looking to just feed this man the ball. And, don't get me wrong, he's a playmaker. I love watching the guy play. But it
Well,
was.
it's surprising with so many offensive weapons. Why?
Well, it was the Barkley, Odell, and a little bit of Evan Ingram show. They sprinkled in a little bit of Sterling Shepard, but like that was the talk of the league last year before all the injuries happened was how great their receiving core was going to be. They had Brandon Marshall, they had Evan Ingram, they had Sterling Shepard, Odell Beckham, and how great that was. And I mean, now we're looking at two guys and one of them's new. And then and not only that, we also heard about, oh man, their offensive line is so improved. They brought in Nate Solder from the Patriots. He's such a great player. That line didn't look improved at all. Eli Manning's running for his life. He got knocked out. I mean, not knocked out, but he got knocked hard on he had a sneak up the middle, and Jalen Smith took it to him. That's the story of the Giants. I really don't see a different team than last year. Even without the injuries, I don't see a different team.
I agree with you there. They're not looking that great. Dallas won the game 20-13. I did forget to mention that in the beginning. And as you mentioned, Dak had 160 yards. Zeke only had 78 yards. But the Dallas defense did get 6 sacks. So that is something that I know the Dallas fans are actually looking at. And they're, Dallas fans, they like to take things either one way all the way to the right or one way all the way to the left. And it only depends on the win or loss. It's not even about the play. If they lose and Dak throws for 700 yards, Dak's a piece of crap. But if they win and he threw 160, Dak's on the Hall of Fame. So
Dak's the real thing.
Exactly. So, but all in all, the picks were you had the pick right. Cowboys did win it, but that win is not a win that I would say gives any comfort to me. If I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, everything's okay. We're 1-1 and let's go. No, right now I'm saying, all right, we've got some serious issues. We're not moving the ball, and we beat a Giants team that didn't look that good. So that's what I would say. But so let's go ahead and get to the Sunday games now. And Sunday was an interesting day. We're going to start with the early games, then we're just going to go through it. So first and foremost, we've got the Panthers at the Falcons, where the Falcons won 31-24. So this game was interesting. We knew that Freeman was was unable to play this game. He was injured. Coleman got the call. And as we expected, Coleman running the ball got 107 yards with 6.7 yards average. Julio was only held to 64 yards, which was interesting. But one thing that I thought was pretty cool and sad, though, is the Panthers last week when we saw them, they looked like this defensive team. It wasn't a high-scoring game. You were saying, wow, look at this defense. Today, it's the opposite. Today, you got Newton throwing 335 yards and 3 touchdowns, and you got McCaffrey getting 139 scrimmage yards. So now it's the offense, and the defense couldn't do anything. So it's really it's interesting with this team. Who are we going to get week in, week out right now? That's how I'm looking at them. But the Falcons came in, they won it. I'm not that set on the Falcons. I know people keep saying we're going to see them in the Final Four at the end of the year. I don't know if I'm there with them right now because they didn't look that great against the Eagles, and they won this game, but it wasn't lock and step,
Right.
We got this.
Right. I mean, it was definitely down to the wire. Atlanta did finally score in the red zone. That's the positive for them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't to Julio. They didn't throw the ball to Julio Jones. They hit the rookie Calvin Ridley. That was a pretty good play. Like you said, Tevin Coleman, that was a big takeaway for me. It's looking good. I think the big thing with this game was with the Panthers between last week and this week is the difference in the teams. The Cowboys, when you look at their defense, they have a decent defense. They can get pressure. They can do these things. The Falcons are missing Deion Jones. I think they had another injury. They had an ejection, right? There was a guy that tried to take Cam's head off.
Yeah, and Cam called it a cheap shot afterwards.
Oh, it definitely was. It was pretty cheap,
but they play Cam differently. Cam's the Shaq of the NFL. The people come at him harder. The refs kind of let things happen. The man is a monster.
Well, I'm honestly at first I was surprised when I saw it happen. I said, "Man, that better be a flag. There's no way that's not a flag." The flag comes in, which I thought, okay, at least they're doing it right this time, because that's typically the complaint, right? That they're not going to throw the flag when Cam Newton takes a big hit. That should be illegal. But then the guy was staying in the game, and there was nothing really happening. And I said, okay, now this is a problem. But they did eventually eject him from the game, so everything got called right. But I think the Falcons are a little down on defense this year, and obviously have exponentially better offense than the Cowboys. So I think that's really the big difference between the weeks with the Panthers.
Okay. Awesome. So the next game, this one was actually an interesting one for me. I didn't see it going this way. I got this pick wrong. I believe you may have called this right, actually. I don't remember. I'd have to go back to the tape.
Oh, I did.
But
I remember.
humble brag. But Colts, Redskins, Colts won 21-9. This game, I only got to catch a couple glimpses at it, but I did look at the stat line, and one thing that caught my eye was Peterson with a 1.8 rush average and only 20 yards.
Right.
I know we were kind of talking good about him last week, but also I noticed that Luck only had 179 yards, so I'm guessing that this was a defensive game. Definitely something that I need to watch. I'm going to be watching this later on in the week, but I don't know how much you saw of this game. I'll let you go ahead and touch on it.
I didn't really catch much of any of the game. I watched some replays from it, read the recap, things like that. By the way, Andrew Luck sounds like such a nerd. Have you ever heard Andrew Luck talk at the podium after the game?
Oh yeah, he's complete. Yeah, I bet he played water polo in high school.
But he either way, he just said, they were asking him how he feels. He said he feels 2 games in, they need to continue to improve, which is exactly what I see. I mean. He definitely is still rusty, and that tends to happen when you sit out a full season of football. But I think he's back. We're just still working through the growing pains. Once he works through and he gets in his rhythm again, I think we're looking at Andrew Luck again. I don't know if he'll ever be the same as he was, obviously with that shoulder, but I think he definitely needs to knock the rust off.
Gotcha. All right, let's go ahead and roll right into the very next game. Let's keep it moving. So the next game is the Texans at the Titans. Titans came in this game, won the game 20-17. Now, I want to say that I did get to see a lot of this game. I was catching this game throughout the Red Zone channel and flipping to it because I started to see things happening, and I was like, I need to see it. To see what I saw is Fuller and Hopkins both went over 100 yards. Fuller had an incredible catch, but it was an incredible throw in the corner of the end zone. Watson was out there doing exactly what I wanted to see, and I know they lost, but 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, and this is the Watson I wanted to see. Now, granted, he got hit a couple times. I did see that, and he looked like I don't know, maybe it was just me, but he didn't look as mobile. Or maybe he's got that fear in him because every time, even though he didn't get hurt in contact, we know he was a no contact injury. He was in practice. It was one of those fluke injuries. It could still give you that that fear. So I don't know if maybe that's affecting his mobility. But I mean, you said it earlier in your shocker. The Titans came out to play today. So
right.
This was Coach Vrabel's first win as a head coach. So I bet this has him happy and everything. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to throw too much credit at the Titans right now. It is still week 2. And I try not to put too much emotion into the very early weeks because this is when a lot of people are knocking off the dust. But I did see a lot that I wanted to see from the Texans. Like I said, both their wide receivers out there balling out. Hopkins and Fuller looking, great. And I see them catching fire and actually picking it up. Titans did just catch this win, though, in the division. That's important. Jaguars just beat the Patriots. I mean, we're going to definitely see out of the South.
Well, I mean, you got Jaguars at 2-0 and Texans at 0-2 right now. And I think that's the main competition in that division, not really the Colts and the Titans so much, not to take anything away from either team. I really put this up to Tennessee's coaching with the fake, the trick plays they ran, the fake punt they ran that got them that 66-yard touchdown. That was beautiful. Nobody saw it coming, and good for Vrabel getting the win against his former team. He's coming from coaching for them. like you said, Deshaun Watson. When you look at stats, Houston outplayed Tennessee, but Tennessee came away with the win.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely, and that happens sometimes. That's the sad thing. It's not sad for the winners, obviously,
right?
But, it's definitely sad when you're out there and you gave your heart to it. But hey, if you can't get that win, you can't get that win. I think I'm not going to say who says it, but there's a certain individual that says they only serve two things at his place establishment, shall we say? Because I don't want to take too much from him. He said W's and L's, but that's the truth. Is wins and losses. I don't care what happened in the game. You can have 7,000 yards. Oh, well. Let's go on to the next game, though. So this one, I know that we had to talk about this, and I didn't even pick them either. Remember, I said, oh, well, I'm just saying it's probable. I should have went with it. I should have went full blown.
Yeah. I shut them down. I'm from today. That's
my father, he's from New Jersey, and he's an Eagles fan. So I get to see the pain in him over the last 6 years because the team sucked forever. I mean, they had many good years. Don't get me wrong, but when it doesn't end with a Super Bowl, it's painful. So I definitely used to give them a lot of crap. They finally won their Super Bowl, but today I gave them some crap because now that they won the Super Bowl, I don't feel bad giving them their crap anymore. Like at one point, it was like, man, I feel terrible, because every year you get disappointed. But now it's like, y'all suck. So I give them this crap. But no, this game was definitely interesting. I mean, can we talk about Mr. Harvard? Can we talk about Fitzpatrick?
The magician.
402 yards with a 144.4 passer rating. I mean. What? Yes.
Who is this?
Tom Fitzpatrick, I think, or Ryan Brady.
I mean, he's the Harvard guy. Did he build himself a bionic arm and install it? And now this is what we see.
And here's the thing: he's bringing life to D-Jack again. 2 weeks in a row. Jackson had 129 yards. The Eagles had no run game, by the way.
Right, Ajayi had a back injury. I know he came back in late.
Hey, I know we murmured about it. Murmured? Is that a word? Murmured? Stupid word. But I know we murmured about it last week. But hey, Winston, I don't think you've got a position right now.
If Shannon says 2 wins means Fitzpatrick's a starter, especially with this big win over the Eagles, I think you got to stick with a hot hand. It's not just that he's throwing so well. It's that everyone's getting yards after the catch. He's hitting guys in stride when they're open. I mean, O.J. Howard went for a huge touchdown. Deshaun Jackson on the first play of the game, huge touchdown. I mean, they're just lighting it up. I don't know what else to say.
You see this all around the NFL though. When the starter goes out, the team will come around the backup. I mean, it happened with the Eagles last year. Look across the field to where Fitzpatrick's standing. That happened to the Eagles last year. Last year, Foles came in and his team came around him and they said, we're going to lift you up. We're going to stand together. We're going to go out there and we're going to get it. And Fitzpatrick is out there, and like you said, his team's getting yards after the catch. They're pushing for that extra yard. They're out there containing the run. The defense is playing hard. They've got that moment right now. Now, I don't want to go overselling them. They're the Bucs. This is week 2. But the way they're playing is not just winning by accident. They are winning convincingly. They're getting out there. They're scoring the points. They're moving the ball. They're getting off the field on third down on the other side of the ball. I mean, they look good right now. I'm not gonna hit them with it's a just week 2 thing. I'm gonna say that team is definitely looking good right now.
Well, and what I wondered too is I last year coming into the season I was really high on Tampa Bay. I thought they were gonna win the division. I thought they were gonna make a deep playoff run, be a good team, and they kind of just fell apart. And I mean, talent wise, the team's pretty much. They're pretty similar this year. I think they're just under different leadership at the moment, and that leadership is really pulling it all together. And you can tell when you watch him before and after the game, you can tell what kind of like that the team really follows him. You know, he's out rubbing beards with one of the offensive linemen. after the game, he's dressed. He looks like Floyd Mayweather up on the stand, and he says, "All right, well, we got to hurry this up because I got to give D-Jack his stuff back."
What's up with his outfit, right?
Right, yeah, he stole that all from Deshaun Jackson, and they said, "So is any part of that outfit real?" He said, "The chest hair is mine."
Well, here's a question for you. As you said, a lot of people did talk about the Bucs last year coming into the season because they have talent on the offense. They have talent on the defense. A lot of people spoke about it. They said, hey, is this team going to do something? And they came out and they had good games and up games and they looked solid. But then there was games where they didn't. The question is maybe the fact that we didn't see something out of them is because they didn't have the proper leadership on field. Was Winston not mature enough to lead his team? We know that he's a younger guy. We know he has problems off the field, and that usually can translate on the field. He's a young guy. Is this maybe the sign of a veteran leadership coming into a talented organization and leading them to be a united team? Because as you and I know in this beautiful sport we call football, every team has great players. They're all National Football League players. They all got there. This isn't basketball. You don't just need a LeBron and you can get to the championship 6 years in a row. You can have the dream team and never make it to the Super Bowl, and you can have Scrubs and just Brady, and he can drive these guys together. So the question is, do you think maybe that Fitzpatrick is just bringing that veteran leadership to a team that had the talent, and this is what's coming together right now we're seeing on the field?
I mean, I think it's definitely a possibility. Jameis is he's got some things he's got to work out, and I think that those things definitely affect your leadership and your ability. And yeah, I mean, you remember his that pregame speech from last year, that let's go eat a W speech. Did you see that?
No, I don't.
Oh, you're gonna have to watch that later on. That let's go eat a W speech. Everyone, like even Deshaun Jackson was standing in the background, and you could see the look on his face, like, what is this guy talking about? So I mean, I think it's just a difference in leadership is really what we're looking at.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think that's enough that we could talk about that. I know people listening are probably like, all right, it's the Bucs. Let's move on. So we'll end it with that. Yeah. But hey. Let's see what they do, though, this season. I'm interested to see it. The NFC South is definitely an interesting division. We talked about the Falcons. We talked about the
it's wide open at this point.
And the Saints. Yeah, I mean, this is a wide open
on top.
Division. Yeah. Yes. All right. So, yeah, let's go ahead and go on. The next game is Kansas City at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh I picked them. You picked them. Kansas City came in and won the game 42-37. I mentioned this earlier to you when we were talking off air that this is the first time Kansas City has won in Pittsburgh since 1986. I had no idea. Mahomes 6 touchdowns, 326 yards. What?
I heard some conversations last week after he came out and looked pretty good. The man, what was it, 5 incompletions he had today?
Yeah, I was going to add that he had only
23 of 28, 6 touchdowns.
Here's what I want to point out. Yeah, 326 yards with those touchdowns with only 28 throws.
Right.
Catches. Like, he's not even out there. Ben had 60 attempts. Mahomes had 28. I mean, and Ben only had an extra 100 yards.
And less touchdowns.
Yeah, he had 2 receivers at 100 plus, and then Hill was at 90. So that's just 3 receivers right there with 290 yards. I mean, and Pittsburgh had no rush game, so now we're asking, maybe would Lev Bell make a difference? This was a very interesting game. This was a statement to me.
I think so too. The Chiefs really came out and did their thing. I do want to point out, although we were both wrong with our pick, we were both right with how the Steelers were going to come into this game. Right, they're not going to have 2 back-to-back bad weeks. They're going to come out fighting. They're gonna play well. I mean, Ben's gonna light it up.
No, you know what? I want to say screw Ben, because Ben played me in fantasy, right? And how you gonna put up 50 points against me, but then not give AB the ball? Because I got AB on my team. So I get AB with 6 damn points, and Ben over here dropping 50 burgers on me.
Man, yeah, I sat him. I played Rivers instead.
Then I played Mahomes in my other league, and he dropped a good 50 on me. I tell you.
But I think that Antonio Brown thing, he's getting in screaming matches with assistant coaches again on the sideline. That happened, was it last year, the year before?
Yeah.
It's just another source of discord going on in that organization with Le'Veon Bell and his teammates talking about his contract, and now Antonio Brown's not happy. Which I mean, I get it, and I'm not too quick to really jump on their issues because they seem to always overcome them. That's kind of the history of the Steelers. For a franchise that has so much stability, the same families owned them since they were a team. They never fire their coaches. Their coaches retire from the game. Like they've had 3 coaches: Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin. That's it.
Yeah.
And their guys just retire from the game. They get the next guy in, they succeed, and they move forward. So no matter how much dysfunction goes on there, we're still looking at. They will more than likely defy the odds, even though they're starting 0-1-1. They're probably still making the playoffs.
The Steelers,
right?
Okay, I'm gonna hold that to you. Let's go ahead and move on to the next game. Next up, we have another surprise factor here. I can't wait to hear what the media is saying, what the pundits are saying tomorrow, because all week, I heard, Sam Darnold, he wears a size 42 chest with his gold jacket. He, is the future franchise, and I'm not knocking the kid.
He's blue collar. He's Rocky Balboa.
He's a dude. Get yourself a dude. Right. And I'm not knocking that people were on him. I'm not. But the pundits to me crack me up because they get something that they feel is a story and they suck it dry until it dies. It's all right. There's 32 teams. There's a lot of different stories. There's a lot of different people, and there's a lot of different fans. That's why we made this podcast, guys. While you're listening, we know you want to hear about your team. We know you want to hear about your players, not just about one all day long. So that's what makes me upset. But I'm going to go back to this game. Darnold definitely had some hiccups in this game. He started it off with an interception again. They lost 20-12. The Dolphins didn't look that. They looked good in the sense of winning the game and dominating the Jets, yes, but statistics wise, I didn't see anything as far as that goes. Right. Both teams, Tannehill won the game without throwing 200 yards, 168 yards. Now, this is the first time.
Touchdown? He did.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns. Yeah. Now, this is the first time Miami's been 2-0 since 2013. They're sneaking with the record. Now, granted, you and I know that this record's not going to mean anything because they're not going to really hold their weight against other teams, and it's not going to matter. But these wins do, affect things. So they are sneaking their way with some wins that, like I said, they're 2-0. They beat the Jets. That's going to hurt the Jets. They're in a division where if they won anything, it's going to be wild card. They're not winning their division. So these things matter. So all in all, Darnold had he had a game where he needs to bounce back from this if he's the guy that everybody's saying he is. So we'll see what we get from him.
Right. I like Sam Darnold, but I'm not. I'm never too quick to jump on anyone like this. He had a decent game, but he's definitely a little bit back down to earth after last week and the shellacking of the Lions. But statistically, the Jets outplayed the Dolphins, but the Dolphins came away with it. It's kind of like the Houston game. So
yeah. Awesome. So this next game, before we talk about the game itself, I want to hit you with some news that came out. So the Chargers went over to Buffalo and beat the Bills 31-20. So I want to talk about this, though. Did you hear about Vontae Davis?
Oh, I did.
Okay, so let's tell everybody what happened. So Vontae Davis decided he was going to retire. I'm sorry. I can't even say that seriously. At halftime.
At halftime.
So it appears that he decided, wow, I'm on a terrible team. And according to the coach, he pulled himself out of the game. He told us he was done at halftime. Nothing else. Didn't give him 2 words. This shows you a little something, though. And we talked about the Bills last week. We said that the Bills are a team that we could just fork right now. They're one of the teams that you can
Right.
say they're not doing anything. This is showing something though else, because if your own players are quitting on you, the older guys, they're saying, I'm not here to get my body beat up for no reason. If they know, because the only reason the guy's quitting is because he knows, hey, there's really no point in me being here, and it's not even worth the money. That's what blows my mind. You're not even going to stick around for the paycheck. So
Right.
if it's that bad, then it's that bad. So that scares me a little bit about this team. They're definitely in rebuild right now at week 2. Shady McCoy looks like he might have hurt his ribs as well in this loss. So we'll be waiting to see what happens with that, and we'll let you guys know as soon as that information comes out. As far as the game goes, the Chargers dominated it. I don't even think the score is being honest with you at all. Gordon had 3
garbage
touchdowns.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly. Now, one thing I do want to point out, though, before I pass it over to you is Allen, the young quarterback over there with the Bills. This is how you know. This is how you know that they have nothing to work with. He threw to 11 different people today. 11 different guys had to catch the ball.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was doing my stats research. I was looking up things before the podcast, looking around and seeing how the games went. And this list comes up, and it shows you how many people caught the ball.
Right.
I'm starting naming them, like, who do they have? And I'm naming people I never even heard of. And I'm like, what is going on? Yeah, so I opened that up and I was in shock, but it told me, that's cool that the young kid is throwing the ball around, but at the same time, it means they have nobody to throw the ball to.
Right.
They're trying to get it down the field. I just think they're in a complete rebuild. They might as well start playing for draft picks.
Right. I think they're kind of forced to get Allen playing time, kind of develop him a little early, which worries me about his development. He's one of those guys that isn't necessarily. He's not your Andrew Luck who came out of college and you knew for a fact this guy's going to succeed. He's ready to play right now. He's not that kind of guy, and kind of tossing him in this early, especially on a team that looks like they do and is having the issues that they're having. That kind of worries me. But he seems to be handling it well. He didn't have a great day today, but what can you really expect? 18 to 33, 245 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. Not awful, but especially for his first start. But he's hopefully he still comes along. I really got nothing else to say about that game.
No, I get that. Believe me, there's not really much you can really pull from that. The next game, though, this one was one of my favorite games of the week. It's very sad how it ended. Honestly, I had a blast watching it. The stats don't tell you what happened in the final quarter. Vikings, Green Bay, we had our second tie in a matter of 2 weeks. Now, this is the first time that this has happened in many years. I think it's been since like 97, 96, something like that. I was reading something earlier, and I believe, 97. So we had this great. It was the greatest this season so far, greatest last 5 minutes. It was just. So let me give you guys a little rundown. Kirk Cousins had the ball. He threw an interception. Now, granted, I know some Green Bay fans that are probably going to say that this interception should have stood. The roughing the passer call was a little, shady there. I saw it. How do I feel about it? Oh, well, I've been watching the NFL long enough to know that those plays happen. It seriously is
right.
That. Those plays really do happen. If you're new to football, you're like, that's not fair. Once you've been around for 10, 15, 20 years, you're like, darn it. And it happens where those plays get called. So the play gets called back and they get a first down, automatic first down, and Kirk Cousins gets his second chance and he starts moving it and moving it and moving it, and he scores a touchdown. And the touchdown goes, then they get the 2-point conversion. They tie it up 29-29. Now, the thing is, you give Aaron Rodgers the ball. Aaron Rodgers brings the ball down, and we're sitting there and we're watching Aaron Rodgers do exactly what Aaron Rodgers does. Now, on the stats line, Aaron Rodgers didn't have that great of a game compared to Cousins. Cousins
right.
425 yards. Rodgers threw for 281. But Rodgers, you cannot give him a minute. and you can't give him. Actually, they gave him 27 seconds, and he got down to field goal range. Now, the Vikings iced the kicker. He made it on the first one, but the timeout went perfectly in time, so that way it didn't count. And then the Crosby, that's his name, right? Crosby. He missed.
Mason Crosby, Packers kicker.
Now the sad thing is, in the overtime, there's 2 missed field goals, and it brings probably some memories back for Paul to the Browns game. We missed the young kicker Carlson. I think he's a rookie. Carlson misses 2 field goals in overtime, and this final field goal was a chip shot. I believe it was like 35 yards.
Oh, yeah, not far at all.
It's an extra point. And they ice him, but they ice him before he ever kicks it. So they're in his head. And I saw earlier that he was speaking to a reporter, and he said that the reason he missed it, he blamed it on his confidence. He went out there too confident, missed the kick. One thing, ladies and gentlemen, that we've seen over the last, I would say 4 or 5 years, actually, since they moved the extra point back about 10 yards. I don't know if that's played a part in everything. I don't know how. We have been seeing a lot of kickers missing kicks that they normally don't miss. A lot of kickers getting in their own head, and a lot of games having issues with missed kicks. I don't know if it's just me, but it's been happening a lot. I'm not a fan of ties. This game was a great game to watch. It's very disappointing as a football fan to see a game end like that with a tie. But
especially 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, especially 2 weeks in a row. All in all, though, I think that the Packers were the better team in the beginning of this game, but the Vikings clawed back. They fought to the tooth. I mean, it was a great fight, and the Vikings should walk away at least, positive about that.
Can we talk about something real quick about this game?
Yeah, go ahead.
Does Kirk Cousins not deserve his money? I mean, why did Washington let him go? Why did they string him along for all those years just to never give him a long-term contract, never pay him, so he could go to Minnesota and do exactly what we all knew he's capable of doing? I mean, the guy's hovering around 70 to 75% completions. He threw for 425 yards and 4 touchdowns today. He's probably going to have 2 different 1,000-yard receivers this season. What else do you want from this guy? Is it Cousins' fault that you guys weren't better in Washington, or? But so anyway, I mean, other than that, right? Like you said, Washington or not Washington, Minnesota clawed their way back. I think these teams are pretty evenly matched as far as one team has Aaron Rodgers and the other team is one of the most complete teams in the NFL. So that's basically the same thing, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much.
That's why it ended in the tie. But yeah, I mean, it's a good game. I think these teams are obviously going to get as long as we don't see any major injuries, these teams are going to be battling for the top of the division.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's interesting is you kind of hit the nail on the head right there. Is now the Vikings have a good quarterback, and I'm not taking anything away from Bradford when he did his little thing there, and Case Keenum. But I mean, come on, they got a guy that could sling the ball, and I mean, he had a pick today that went straight through his receiver's hands and was tipped up. That's not his fault. He put that ball where it needed to be. They didn't catch the ball. Now, there was that one with the sack. Like I said, we'll talk. I mean, yeah, whatever. That happens. He had a guy smash him in his face. He threw the ball up. But all in all, it's going to be interesting now with Kurt here over the next, however long you got for Aaron Rodgers, because Kirk's much younger than him. But as long as, if Aaron's got 3 more years, we're looking at some divisional QB battles right here.
The Bears coming up too.
Yeah, I'm excited but I'm excited to see these 2 QBs go together and go at it, because they're going to have games like this, both of them coming back. You leave that other one a minute 30 or a minute 45. Hey, I'm going to come down there and I'm going to score this ball and we're going to keep going. So no, that's definitely something to be interested about for the future of the NFC North. All in all, though, I think that Vikings still got this division, but we shall see. They need to clean up a lot from what we saw today. Next game, I'm going to let you go ahead and hit this. I just want to add my piece on it. Because I'm going to say something that's going to make you proud, Paul. So the Browns went down to New Orleans, to see Drew Brees and the Saints. Drew Brees and his team won 21-18, and I'm going to let Paul here explain to you exactly how that happened. But I want to point something out. I want to point something out about these Cleveland Browns, and I'm not a fan. I mean, I respect them. Paul's a fan of the Cleveland Browns, but I want to say that this is something to notice. Ben Roethlisberger today threw monstrous yards. His team had monstrous offensive power. Last week they did not. This week, Drew Brees, who we just saw put numbers up on the Buccaneers, who we know is capable of doing things, with Alvin Kamara, who we know is capable of doing things. Let me just say this right now. Drew Brees only threw for 243 yards against this Browns defense. Kamara only had 46 rushing yards against this Browns defense. The NO did not have a single receiver go over 90 yards against this Browns defense. Tyrod Taylor threw for 246, 22 out of 30. Brees was 28 out of 35 for 243. These two QBs played similarly. This is actually the first time New Orleans won a game against Cleveland since 2006. It's weird to say that.
Right. But they don't play every year.
I know, but I just wanted to throw it out there. I like fun facts. But I just want to say that this Cleveland defense is real. Now, will they win a lot of games this season? Who knows? But they've got the formula because defense can win you a game. Now I'm going to let Paul go ahead and tell you how this game actually played out.
Lot of short passing and running from the Browns. If you go through their play-by-play, you're going to see Browns run right or hide right. Callaway got one rush or two rushes. Chubb off this way. Duke Johnson left tackle this way. Tyrod Taylor short middle to Jarvis Landry, short middle to Njoku, short right to Higgins. You see a lot of that, and I know that's kind of what you expect with Tyrod Taylor, but it doesn't help at all when he doesn't have time to make longer throws. He can't really be aggressive and push the ball upfield unless he's not having to run for his life. So the Browns. Probably the Browns' biggest problem right now is blocking, and I think that's followed closely by drops. Njoku has had a lot of problems with drops this year and last year, for that matter. He can make some incredible catches, one-handed catches, things like that. He's a freak athlete, but it seems to be when you hit him right in the weak spot, right between the numbers, that tends to not go so well for him. So.
And you guys are losing Josh Gordon.
Yeah. And I'll speak to that in a sec. But like you said, the Browns defense is real. And I think the Browns defense is better than anyone is really willing to give them credit for yet. But like you said, they shut Roethlisberger down last week and he goes off this week. Brees goes off last week. They shut him down this week. Not shut him down, but definitely kept him in check, kept Kamara in check.
Nobody really shuts down Brees, though. Let's be honest.
Right.
He's played the Legion of Boom back in the Legion of Boom's prime, and they only could keep him in check. So keeping him in check is a proud thing to do.
And the thing that really I think is really telling too, their leading receiver Michael Thomas had 89 yards. He got 89 yards on 12 catches. That's a lot of catches to get 89 yards in today's NFL. So
it's less than 10 yards a catch.
Now, what the positives you're looking at? That play. That Tyrod Taylor pass to Callaway in the end zone to tie the game was one of the most beautiful passes I've seen all season. Right to the right spot. Callaway's just got the guy a step in front of the guy, and they just floated in. Callaway stretches out his arms, grabs the ball, touchdown. 3 steps in the end zone. You couldn't ask for a better play than that. Tyrod really showed what he's made of there. The Browns really showed what they're made of when they started to kind of lose their footing and then battled back to take to tie the game again. But what can you do when your kicker misses 2 field goals and 2 extra points? Their kicker hung 8 points on the scoreboard and we lost by 3. So. I hate to blame it on one guy. And yeah, sure, maybe our defense could have held the Saints to less than 21 points. Is that even realistic to ask of anyone? and maybe our offense could have scored more. And I think that's legitimate to ask, but your offense scores by field goal sometimes. And I'm going to be, I mean, maybe I'm a little overreacting on this, but Zane Gonzalez shouldn't have a job tomorrow, and Dan Bailey's in the free agency. Why do we not sign Dan Bailey tomorrow? Like, get his agent on the phone as soon as this game ends. Get his agent on the phone and get him into Cleveland for a workout.
You hear that, Cleveland? Get Dan Bailey on the phone and get him in there right now. You got 2 weeks in a row now. You're kicking and blowing something for you. Now watch. You're gonna see the Vikings grab him. No, I'm just joking. No, yeah.
If I'm Dan Bailey, I'd sign with the Vikings too, but whatever.
I don't think the Vikings are going to move on the young guy, though. That was a joke. I mean, that's not 2 weeks in a row for some team. But no, definitely. So since I mentioned it, and I know you said you're going to bring it up later, go ahead and let the people know what's going on with Josh Gordon in case anybody hasn't been hearing the news.
Okay, Josh Gordon is set to be released by the Browns, or there's also some trade rumors. I know Adam Schefter reported about teams had contacted them about trades. There's some conflicting stories about it. The Browns haven't made any real official statement. The facts seem to be that Gordon left practice Friday in top shape, no health issues. Came in late Saturday morning, tardy as they put it, which is also apparently a habitual thing for him. He said he couldn't play this week. He's got a problem with his hamstring. Apparently, he pulled a hamstring during a promotional shoot that was not sponsored by the team. Big no-no. It seems that he has finally pulled the last straw, which seems like that would have happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
But the conflicting report I read from Mary Kay Cabot at the Plain Dealer in Cleveland. She's a real popular reporter. She's been doing that for a long time. The thing that I saw was that there was worry that he might have been high on Saturday morning. I don't know if that's true. I don't want to put that out there and blame it on that. I hope it's not. I don't wish a relapse or anything like that. I hope he's healthy mentally. And everything's good there. But at some point, when you put someone through as much as he's put the Browns through, I mean, he's missed 94 games in his 6 seasons there.
And he was such a great talent,
right?
Such a great
1,600 yards in 14 games, and yeah. So I hate to see him go. I really do. I was really excited. I was hoping he was going to be part of our future and part of what we're building. But like the Browns said, I wish him the best of luck. I wish him well. He's hopefully we can get some trade value for the guy because we could use some offensive line talent.
And there's definitely teams out there that could use a wide receiver. The question is, who's going to want to deal with someone who's had habitual problems with this? And I don't want to get into this conversation too deep about the whole weed in the NFL and it's legal in states and should it be legal? Here's the thing I'm going to say, and this is really all I'm going to say about it. And it's sort of like being in the Marine Corps. If you're in the Marine Corps and states around you would make weed legal, too bad you couldn't smoke it because that's what the Marine Corps said. You couldn't go out and smoke it and then be like, well, the state is legal. That's not fair because you're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your money. That's how it is. We're grown men. We make agreements. We sign contracts. We sign contracts to make agreements to make lots of money. Now, we didn't make lots of money, but this man makes lots of money. You can hold off on smoking that weed. It's not that serious. And for what he did, it blew my mind because they gave him chance after chance after chance after chance to the point where you don't see people become indefinitely suspended for weed. Like you gotta walk into the commissioner's office with a blunt to get indefinitely suspended for weed, and he was and then they let him back. So if he really did, if this is about weed, then I wouldn't be surprised if the NFL just says bye to him. Definitely.
Lifetime ban for sure. I think this is the last straw in that case. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, even if it's just a suspicion of weed, but it's not provable, and he keeps his ability to play, a lot of teams don't want that. I mean, teams wouldn't even touch Kaepernick for his issues. Teams wouldn't touch Ray Rice for his issues. Teams don't touch Greg Hardy for his issues. They're not going to touch a man with those issues. because a lot of organizations have a certain pride about them. And now
Right.
some organizations are willing to touch that. The Cowboys are one of those.
I was just about to say, Jerry Jones.
Yeah. The Patriots are the type to be able to fix a problem child. Seattle did it. They brought in, Michael Bennett. They brought in different players like that. So there's teams out there, but we got to really see what the reports are. We're going to have to wait to find out and see what actually happens. And like you said, though, if I was the Browns, I'm at least if it's not weed and the NFL is not going to be involved in it, I'm using trade value out of this.
Right.
So all right. So let's go ahead and get on to the next game. We got the Lions traveling over to the San Francisco 49ers. The game turned out to be a very close game, or at least, that's what the score appears. The 49ers won 30-27. Now, I know I didn't watch a lot of this game, but I did see that Jimmy G had a decent game. 206 yards, 2 touchdowns. His running back, though, Breda, had 138 yards. So that's interesting. Now, one thing I do want to say is a good takeaway for the Lions on the other side of the ball is even though they lost, they look like they came together a little bit better than week 1. Stafford's back to his ways. He had 3 touchdowns. He had 347 yards. Tate did 109. I'm glad I decided to put Tate in, even though everybody else screwed me on fantasy, because everybody else did screw me on fantasy. But it does look like the Lions at least came together a little bit on that, on that note. I don't know how things are looking in the locker room. We'll find out this week how things are going with Matt, however you say his last name.
Patricia, yeah,
Patricia. I always mess it up like a Patrit or something. Matt Patricia. So we'll find out. But yeah, so close game. The Niners, they had a lot of hype coming into the offseason. Not really that excited for them. I'm also in their division with Seattle, so obviously I like to see them lose. So they won. They're 1-1 now. So yeah.
I think seeing the Jimmy Garoppolo numbers, I can't say I'm really impressed. Maybe I'm just looking for too much. I feel like he's supposed to be a 350-yard guy, but I guess I think they kind of had the game. Detroit scored 14 points in the fourth quarter to bring it this close. So I feel like they probably had a lead for a long time. Breda had a long run that scored a touchdown on that. That was a big one. The things that really stick out to me is Matt Stafford hovering around 60% completions. Not great, not bad. 347 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's awesome. But they also, as with what we're accustomed to in Detroit, have 0 run game. LeGarrette Blount got ejected for a late hit on a guy. I think there was the guy hit Stafford a little bit, not late, but almost late, right on the sideline, and Blount kind of stepped in and he got ejected for that. But that's they still got Kerryon Johnson. They still got they got guys who can run. So it just seems like they're never going to find a run game. But I guess we'll see. The Detroit saga continues,
Yeah, definitely. We will definitely see what is going to happen. And no, I get what you're saying about Jimmy G. Yeah, I know he's young and we expect a lot from him, but he is with Kyle Shanahan, and that means something. Every QB that he's worked with has inflated because of him. So
right.
No, I kind of do feel you there. Will we see a little bit more from him? Let's go ahead and go on to the next game. It was a complete destruction. The Rams blew out the Cardinals. We got a big old zero burger over here.
Yeah.
34-0. Now I could easily go through stats on this one. What I do want to point out with a little fun fact is this is the first time the Rams are starting 2-0 since their 2001 Super Bowl season. So it's been that long since they've actually had a good start like this. Goff looked good. Gurley looked good. Cooks looked amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Woods even still got, some yardage. But what I want to look at is the other side of the field. We know what the Rams are looking like. We know that they're good. What's up with Sam Bradford having 90 yards on 17 out of 27? So if you do the math on that, because I had to go do the math on my own, an average of 5.3 yards per pass. Like, what was he doing? I don't know what in the world they're doing with Sam Bradford over there doing that. I would have yanked him for. If you have 90 yards, that means you had less than 90 yards going into half. That means you had less than 90 yards going into the fourth quarter. Like, if you have less than 90 yards going into the fourth quarter, then I don't know. I'm probably yanking you.
I mean,
I don't know. Maybe.
And they got a rookie that's. I mean, everyone said Josh Rosen is the guy. He's the one that's the most ready to play right now. That's what everybody said about him.
So that's the question. Why? Why are they sitting there with this? They're 0-2 now. Did they win last week? They lost against the Cardinals, right?
Did.
I mean, not the Cardinals. The Redskins.
They did. Yeah, they did lose.
Yeah. So they're 0-2. The Rams came in there and shellacked them. Sam Bradford's older. You know, he's been injured. He's not really someone we look at and say, yeah, this is your next 5 years. I don't see that. I would have put the rookie in. Maybe Sam, even if you're not doing it permanently, Sam maybe needs to just go sit down. Today's not his day, maybe. The defense has his number. So they got demolished. Like I said, Gurley looked amazing. He not with yards either. He just every time he touched the ball, he scored. Cooks had 159 yards. Yeah. I mean, it's as simple as that. The Rams definitely scare me. I'm a Seattle fan. We're in the Northwest, we have to deal with them. So, hey, we'll see what the Rams got to do this season, and I look forward to seeing them. I need to check the schedule and see actually when we meet. But yeah, let's go ahead and
week or something.
Let's go ahead and get on to the next game, because this is one that I really wanted to touch on. I watched this game in its entirety. The Patriots traveled to Jacksonville, and the Jacksonville Jaguars won the game 31-20. And this was a very interesting second half and fourth quarter. The Jaguars, they came out and they just bang, 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 bang. You blinked and it was 7-0, 14-0. I mean, they were moving. They were doing their thing. Bortles looked good. I'll be 100% honest with you. He looked really good. He had 4 touchdowns. He had 350 plus yards. Gronk was absent. So Gronk had 2 catches for 15 yards. This was one that blew my mind a little bit. So I watched the end of this game, and Tom Brady did continuously give them the ability to get close, but his team around him is not there, and this is why I think it's important that we mentioned if Josh Gordon does become available, that's someone to look at. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Dez Bryant in a Patriots uniform this week after this. Bill Belichick does not like losing games, and he doesn't like losing games when he knows that he could have won a game, and he also doesn't like losing games when he knows that there's wide receivers that could have won the game for him.
Right.
I promise you we will see a move at wide receiver somewhere. Now, I'm not saying it definitely will be Dez Bryant. I'm not saying it'll definitely be Josh Gordon, but I'm saying the Patriots need weapons, because you can't just rely on Gronk. You can't just rely on Tom Brady making magic happen. They had ample opportunities. They had chances to come down in the field. At one point, so the Jaguars scored at the very end. And it really it looks different than it really was in the final minutes of this game. The Patriots were within 1 score to win this game, and Brady got hit a couple times. They got to Brady.
Sack fumble, right?
There was a sack fumble as well. It was a very interesting finish.
Kind of sounds like the Super Bowl, really.
Well, yep. But so the Jaguars defense came out to play though, and Bortles looked good. This Jaguars defense, I mean, heck, let's not forget, Jaguars were in it last year. Right. Jaguars went into the AFC Championship, guys. So let's not sleep on this Jaguars team. I know that the name Jaguars still has like this stigma to it.
Right. It's kind of
think they're good.
It doesn't even sound good coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, and they got the 2-tone ugly ass. Oh, man, I'll edit that out. They got the 2-tone ugly helmets. Yeah, I mean, these guys, you don't think about them. You don't think about them all the way down there in Florida. There's three other teams in the state. You got the Bucks, you got the Dolphins, and then you got the Jaguars. Yeah, don't forget about these guys.
Something needs to happen with the Patriots defense. I know they lost their coordinator, and the guy that's their coordinator right now, they didn't hire a new coach. They just kind of their linebacker coach just kind of now coaches linebackers and runs the defense. And I just don't know. I mean, we can't expect the Patriots to get to the Super Bowl this year without a change in the defense. Last week, I know they kind of held the Texans offense in check, but the Texans also were missing Will Fuller last week. If you can't stop Blake Bortles and his ragtag bunch of wide receivers, I mean Leonard Fournette didn't even play today, and maybe ragtag doesn't give these guys the credit they deserve, because these players look good. Dede Westbrook and this Cole kid, this rookie. I didn't have any kind of hope for Jacksonville's receiving core when Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns both left, and then Marquise Lee got hurt after that. I just figured they were kind of done. But I mean, if you're not stopping these guys, who are you going to stop?
That's the truth, man. So with all that, we're gonna go ahead and finish it up. We got one game left, and we got the Broncos traveling. I'm sorry, not traveling. The Raiders traveling over to the Broncos Mile High. Broncos had 2 home games back to back. This game right here, Denver overcame a 12-point lead in the second half to come back and win it, 20-19. Very close game. It was a fight to the end. Denver's 2-0. And the Raiders are 0-2. So,
right.
I mean, I didn't really get to see a lot of this game. I looked at the stat line. I looked at the highlights. It looks like Case Keenum kind of kept going on what he did last week. Like, he made plays. He made, mistakes.
Yeah.
He's Case Keenum.
Right.
And then it looks like the Raiders carried on what they did last week. Like, they can't really do too much. They do a little bit. So, I mean, it's very these two teams, interesting. I think this is the game that I said, can I call a tie? I was 1 point off from the tie.
Yes, close, almost.
Yeah.
I think it's weird. Derek Carr, when you watch Derek Carr play, I don't see the old Derek Carr, right? I'm not watching Derek Carr from 2 years ago before he broke his leg, had that great season. That's what I feel like. That's my eye test. Now, when I go through and kind of look more into it, he only threw 3 incompletions. I mean, 29 of 32, 288 yards and a touchdown. I just don't know what we're seeing. What's up with the Raiders? Can they just not? Are they soft? Are they? What is it? Keenum had 19 of 35, and no touchdowns, 1 interception. I think their main focus is that running back Lindsey, but they. What do I want to say here? They some teams make their field goals, and the Broncos come out on top.
No, definitely. I mean, I agree with you. The Raiders just don't look the same as the year that we had hype for them. And that's the one thing I notice about in the NFL is there's a lot of teams that have that 1 year. And it's a really important thing that you do is never to get caught up on that 1 year when you judge a person. I like to use this with Matt Ryan, for example. If you take his 1 MVP season away, he's an average quarterback. If you take away a rookie season from someone who had that blow up, let's be honest, Deshaun Watson might not be that guy. Now, we'll find out this year, but I don't like to get caught up too much. Derek Carr had that 1 year. It looked like an MVP season. He got injured. The Raiders looked incredible. But outside of that, the collective work that they've given us really isn't too much to get hyped about. And I don't want to get too hyped about it if you keep showing me this week in and week out. Last week gave you the benefit of the doubt because it looked like you dominated the Rams for most of the game because they couldn't do anything. Well, come to find out, they might have just been knocking off the rust. They went up into Arizona and rocked them, from left to right.
Well, and Gurley didn't play a single down in the preseason.
Yeah, exactly. He needed time to get he needed to get that rust knocked off. So yeah, all in all, hey, Coach Gruden, you want to show us what's going on instead of making these Treadstone or Firestone commercials about tires and you're yelling at them, you should be yelling at your players. Let's figure out what's going on and keep it going. But with all that, that's the end of week 2 right there, except for we have Monday Night Football tomorrow. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about this for 2 seconds. You've got the greatest team in the NFL, the Seattle Seahawks. I can't even say that with a straight face anymore. I'm going to be unbiased for a minute.
Relax.
You've got the struggling flag on the play. Flag on the play. We've got the struggling Seattle Seahawks. That's right. I'll be honest. Well, I'll say it. Rebuilding right now, hoping to get out there and catch a win, be 1-1, going over to Soldier Field in Chicago with old Mitch Trubisky and that defense with Khalil Mack, and then that running back that I like back there, Mr. Cohen, who disappointed me last season. I just want to say, side note.
Are you forgetting about Jordan Howard?
I'm not a big fan.
Jordan Howard's their guy, man.
I know, but I like Cohen. I do like Cohen.
Cohen's just a more versatile guy. But
I think Cohen has like that. Okay, don't take this the wrong way. I hate when I say this about anybody and take it the wrong way. Cohen has like that little Barry Sanders kind of feel. I'm not saying the man's
quick. Come on.
No, he's very little and like shaky and quick and just, he has a good jump cut as well. And Barry was known for that jump cut. Barry would stop and just hit you with the jump, which, may I say, somebody put a jump cut on somebody today during the Patriots game. I wish I could remember who it was.
I didn't catch that part.
Bortles was running the ball pretty good. You should have saw his himself. But guys,
that's what Bill said.
Oh yeah, he was upset. But so all in all, week 2 is in the books. We don't want to keep you guys any longer than this. Pay attention this week. We will be dropping a Power Rankings podcast where we go over, what teams are looking at, what's midweek news are we getting, what's next week going to be looking for. And then after that, you'll get the weekly predictions. So that's what you can expect to see as far as a week-to-week basis goes. That way you can get an actual episode where we're not just sitting there going through game after game in a repetition matter. Let's talk football. Let's talk news. Let's talk what's going on in the league. I did mention on the Facebook page that we do have some important information to announce. Just to let you guys know, the MVP News podcast is now officially on SoundCloud. It's going to be on iTunes, Stitcher, and everywhere that you can find podcasts. So right now you're watching this on Facebook, and let's say you want to listen to it while you're working out, while you're driving, you have to click the video and let the video play. Once we get this up for you, you can go to SoundCloud as of right now for this, and therefore you don't have to worry about having the video open. Also, like I said, this week it'll be on iTunes and Stitcher, whatever one you prefer that you use with your phone, whether it be Android, iPhones, and whatnot. You'll be able to play it, not worry about having a video open at the same time. All we ask is that you continue to like it, support it, share it, and comment and let us know what you want to hear, what you want us to give you, and we'll be happy to do so. As far as this week's goes, we appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. I'm Mike Pagano. That's Paul Helmers. This is MVP News, and y'all have a great night.